Welcome to the Android Headline Show, episode podcast number 20. Fasten your seatbelts. It's time to get your droid on. This week we're going to be talking about the Optimus G2, Google Wireless, T-Mobile, Canadian carrier news, rumored HTC device Tegra 4 and Galaxy S4, and Ingress and more. Action-packed show coming up for you this week. And I'd like to introduce you to our special guest here on our show. And right this week we have our assistant editor from the UK near Buckingham Palace and the pregnant princess, Tom the Duke Dawson. How you doing, Tom?
Not bad, not bad.
Great. How is it? Let me ask. Is it rainy? Cold?
No, it's no rain. It's cold. We've surpassed rain, and now we are into cold, ice, frost, snow.
Well, I'll tell you, here in sunny California, it's nice weather, no snow.
I don't care.
And you know, but you've sent us some rain. We're gonna have some rain later this week, and we're gonna send it right the fuck back to you.
Well, that's where it always ends up.
And also joining us on the show, our associate editor, as always, Alex the Great Maxham from Detroit Rock City. How you doing, Alex?
Pretty good. How about you?
Doing good. Thank you for asking. And Christina the Android Diva Gardner, coming to us from the Badger State, home of the Cheeseheads in Wisconsin. How you doing, Christina?
I'm doing great. We just got snow, so it's fabulous.
I feel sorry for you.
I don't.
No snow here, yes.
I love it.
Oh, well, you must be the only person.
Crazy.
Oh, snow's okay as long as it goes away by the next day. Now,
I don't like driving in it.
Oh,
Some
yes,
pretty poor snow.
And finally, we have our newcomer to our show, the resident greenhorn, Doug Capone Scudder from the Windy City of Chicago. How you doing, Doug?
I'm doing great. Just for the record, I am from Philadelphia and I live in Chicago. Small distinction, but I just wanted to throw that out there.
Okay, so he's a Philly cheesesteak guy, but he's in the Windy City.
You got
That's
it.
what everyone at home knows. But we will reference you to your present location of the Windy City in case you change, move around, because I know you are in the witness protection program.
Yes, yeah, they were really disappointed I was doing this, but
Yeah, and telling them where you're from originally, and and telling them where you're at now is a bad thing. But anyways, all right, guys. So this week we have quite a few topics we want to hit up. Covered them at the beginning. And we want to, every week we kind of talk about the latest Android news and rumors, the good, the bad, and the ugly. This is episode 20. It's amazing that we made it this far. That even Google allowed us to hang out and swear and say all the nasty things we do. And, manufacturers haven't totally abandoned us or carriers. But we've made it to episode 20, and we're happy to be here broadcasting our 20th episode.
We should have confetti.
Exactly. Confetti is coming at the end of the show. Celebration and crystal for everyone. All right, guys, let's get on to our first topic of the week. Get up right to it. Let's see what's cooking in the droid kitchen. We got a new rumor just fresh out today. LG's Optimus G2 is display pegged to be at a whopping 5.5 of full HD. And our fantastic editor here, Tom, reported on the story earlier today. Tom, can you give us a few of the details on what this new LG device is rumored to be?
Yeah, I mean, it's LG's Optimus G2, and we've heard a little bit about it beforehand. But now there's today came a fresh rumor out of Korea that LG weren't content with just a run-of-the-mill 5-inch, full HD display, and are apparently going to try and take on the Note 2, at least in size, with a 5.5-inch full HD display.
The original Optimus G is 4.7, so they've really jumped up in size with this.
Yeah, I mean, but the strange thing about it is that you know, Samsung for a long time have skated a thin line between merging the Galaxy S and the Galaxy Note. Like, you could go out and buy a Galaxy S3 and then upgrade to a Note 2, not just because of the size, but because of the S Pen. But you know, if you they're bumping the Optimus G2 to such a size that it's just a very strange move. Like,
why wouldn't they just call it a new device, or
instead of
branding, something new out there, because the Optimus G is pretty popular, good device in its own, and for people that want that smaller,
relatively normal size.
Why not just throw out a new device instead of totally upgrading it, this screen size on it? Good point. Are there anything about specs wise that are confirmed? As of
the specs haven't been confirmed, but the rumor it was basically more of the same, and it's that the G2 is going to come with a quad-core CPU from the Snapdragon S4 family, the usual 2 GB of RAM, and have a couple of upgrades in the fact that it'll come with a 13 megapixel camera and what they're calling a third generation LTE radio, which I assume would probably be better for battery life. I think that's probably the main concern when it comes to LTE radios. And coming from LG, who own a hell of a lot of patents when it comes to LTE, they should be able to come up with a pretty good radio.
Well, that sounds pretty good. It doesn't sound like a whole lot yet, although the specs and the rumors are pretty early. Other than the big screen, so far we don't know too much more on that, and we'll probably see that at CES, as that's a time when LG does a lot of their announcements for their devices. As you know, there's also Mobile World Conference and as well CTIA, and every carrier OEM or manufacturer has their preference of when they'll do their announcements, but LG has done CS in the past. So let's move on. We'll move on to our next topic here. We're going to move fast today because we got lots of news to get out to you guys. And I'm going to head over to Alex. And a story that kind of popped up on the weekend is that Sprint is trying to keep Google Wireless from happening. Now that sounds like a huge move on Sprint's part. What's the story behind this, Alex? What's the deal? What's going on? How do they think they're going to stop Google from getting in the wireless game?
Well, basically, Sprint is in talks with Dish Network, who's also been in talks with Google, and they were in talks with Metro PCS to get them before T-Mobile did.
So it sounds like technically Sprint's trying to get into that Dish Network deal, and that's how Google was basically thinking of that they were going to get into the wireless game, or rumored to be, and Sprint either picked up on it or maybe they were in talks earlier. It's still a little early to say, but with their new investment from SoftBank, the Japanese wireless operator, and that deal is almost done. They which they own 70% of Sprint. They're probably going to have a little bit more cash now. How much cash has Sprint got to spend on this now? I mean, their coffers are getting up there. I heard close to $8 billion in cash to spend making deals and so on.
Yeah, I believe it's around $8 billion, but they spent $480 million buying spectrum from U.S. Cellular.
Well,
in the Chicago area.
I personally would rather see Google Wireless in on the deal than Sprint, but obviously being Android fanboys, we'd like to see that. Does Sprint really need this deal? It doesn't really add a whole lot of new customers to them.
I think they kind of do, because it sounds like Dish Network is going to try and be a MVNO like Straight Talk is with AT&T and T-Mobile. So they'll have more people on their network, but can their network handle it?
Yeah, definitely an issue. we'll see. This will be interesting to see who gets that coveted Dish Network spectrum. There's been quite a few different rumored people, trying to pick up that Dish Network spectrum. So I think we'll definitely see somebody's going to come out with that spectrum come next year for sure, whether it be Sprint or Google Wireless, and make somebody happy. So let's move on to our next story, and this is another one that kind of popped up towards the end of the week. Alex was doing, carrying all the carrier news, it seems like, last week. T-Mobile kills the classic plans and no longer subsidizing devices. Now, for those of you at home on T-Mobile, this is a pretty big news story for you guys because this is going to affect you. What's the deal, Alex? How is this going to affect the customers? What are we looking at? What kind of changes are in store for T-Mobile?
Well, basically, they've been pushing you to the value and prepaid plans for a while now. And now they're getting rid of the classic plans, which are the more expensive ones, but your devices are also cheaper when you get a classic plan. So with the value plan, you're going to be paying basically the full price of the phone, but you'll do a down payment and then equal monthly payments for, I think, 15 to 20 months, depending on a bunch of factors that T-Mobile has. I don't know all the details on that.
Now we had kind of talked a little bit back and forth about this, about what would the cost end up being for the consumer in the long run. Is it going to cost them more, or is it going to cost them less? Obviously, it kind of sounds like at first it's going to cost them more if they're having to pay for a full device, but they're going to save money on the plans. What's the number breakdown on that, just from your initial calculator and calculations that you rolled in your head?
Well, if you stick with the same device for 1 year, the value plan is going to be about $50 more throughout the whole year. But if you stick for it for 2 years, it's going to be about $210 cheaper throughout the whole 2 years.
So if you were on a value plan to begin with, you're not going to save money, right?
Not really.
No. Now, if you were on a classic,
you're just buying the Nexus 4 from Google, which is what I did, I'm saving money that way.
Okay. So, but if you were on a classic plan contract, this will save you money if you're upgrading about every 2 years or so, correct?
Yep.
Okay. So, I mean, this is, people haven't really complained too much about it. How do you guys think? Doug, what do you think about this announcement? Do you think it's, it doesn't sound great at first, killing off a classic plan, although it was more expensive. But as an average consumer comes into the store and says you got to pay a whole phone off when they're used to paying, $199 for a phone or something, it sounds bad.
I mean, I like the idea of not subsidizing phones anymore, at least on the surface in a general sense. So anything that moves us away from subsidized phones in some way is a good thing, because it creates that barrier. Now, my question would be, do updates to Android phones have to come through T-Mobile if you're paying the full price of the device? It's not subsidized, so do they have a right to put bloatware on it because they're not helping you pay for it? I would have a lot of questions along those lines.
That's a valid point, because on these subsidized phones, kind of the way that they help subsidize them was, putting this bloatware on these phones, and their customization and all their other crap and stuff like that. And, maybe it might be an idea for them, they could save some money too, not having to customize them by just selling the stock devices. They'll get quicker updates from the manufacturer. That would be a beautiful thing in a perfect world, but probably something that they're not going to announce right away. And will it happen? I'm not sure.
Yeah, I mean, we'll see what happens, but maybe in some future, T-Mobile has slightly better customer service and like a great LTE network, and they'll let you use any phone that you want, and they sell you phones at the same price that Google does in the Play Store. Probably not, but hey.
Yeah, that's a lot of wishful thinking. Now, Tom, Tom, in the UK, this is how they sell devices out there already. So full price. No, there's not subsidized pricing out there.
Oh yeah, we get massive subsidized pricing. My phone was free.
Oh Jesus, you're the wrong guy.
This is what I was about to say. Do Europeans are allowed to say in this because well, I mean, you know, my plan is probably quite expensive every month. But I mean, everything's unlimited aside from my data. I only get 2 gigs, which is pretty paltry. But when I consider how much time I spend on Wi-Fi, I barely use it. So, you know, and I got a free HTC One X. So,
hey, that's pretty heavily subsidized.
But no, I do think that it's desirable to like the phone I had before this. Like, I was actually in a 2-year contract with the HTC Desire, and I outgrew the Desire, and you know, I sold the phone and bought I bought an XS, and I ran that for a while on the same contract. So, you know, I think it's probably the way to go. But over here, it makes little to no sense because I get a free phone.
Well, nothing wrong with free. Now it'll be interesting to see what kind of response they get at this, because T-Mobile has been hemorrhaging customers worse than a gunshot wound victim over the past quarters. So we'll see if this works for them. You know, they're definitely trying something new and fresh. We'll see how it goes. Doesn't seem like T-Mobile has had the perfect formula yet, and we'll see what they put together in the next year. And how and the bottom line is the subscribers are going to be the ones who answer. And just on the same topic, and just to give a quick shout out on a story that we had covered on as well, is Canadians up in Canada. They're on 3-year contracts. I used to be in Canada, and I was on a 3-year contract. And what they do is they sell you a phone subsidized. Prices are fairly low on the subsidies, you know, maybe around $100 or something. But then you're locked in with the same phone for 3 years. Can you imagine having the same phone for 3 years?
That would drive me crazy.
Like, that's freaking sad. Like, I mean, technology is moving at neck-breaking speeds right now in the mobile industry. And having the same phone for 3 years is crazy. I'd be still on my G1. No, maybe not quite that bad, but almost. You know, how can you lock someone in for 3 years? So that's what's taking place right up in Canada, and almost all of the major carriers. Now there's some smaller carriers that don't have that. They kind of go with the the not as heavily subsidized pricing, or you buy your phone and you can go with unlimited plans, all kinds of nice stuff. But they're not the major carriers. There's 3 major carriers in Canada: Bell, Rogers, and Telus, and have kind of a monopoly over the market, and they all require you to sign a 3-year contract for your phone, and the prices on their data and minutes and so on like that are pretty hefty as well too. So they've really been screwing over the Canadian customers for a long time. And what the CRTC is pondering, a national code for wireless service that would require the contracts, be shortened. And while, I'm sure the carriers are going to jack it up and pass some of those, those dollars back onto the consumer, getting people out of 3-year contracts in Canada is a pretty important thing. It's just ridiculous, and I can't believe that it's been going on for this long. So many of the Canadians have been calling for a ban on it for some time, and this is the first real opportunity for them to, voice their opinions. There's a regulatory division in the Canadian government that kind of oversees the wireless industry, and they're going to be taking the responses seriously, and hopefully they'll come back with some changes, as my fellow family and countrymen of the Great North have been getting screwed over pretty royally for the past few years, or many years. And hopefully we'll see some changes in the industry there. Can you just imagine, guys, like having the same phone for 3 years. What phone were you using 3 years ago, Alex? Can you even remember?
It was either the original Droid or the original Evo.
Okay, imagine you're still on contract. Doesn't that blow your mind?
I'd have unlimited data on Verizon, so.
Yeah, but you'd be using a phone that couldn't. You'd be using a phone that couldn't play Angry Birds. That's how bad it would be. What phone were you using 3 years ago, Christine? I'm sure it wasn't Android. What was it? A BlackBerry Pearl or something?
No, actually, 3 years ago I was on the HTC Hero, and I was actually on Cellcom then. So.
Wow, old school. What were you using, Doug, 3 years ago?
I would have just gotten the original Droid.
Wow.
Just got it.
So we would just be getting off contract with all of these phones. And I was using what they called up their, I think it was the HTC Magic or Dream, whatever it was, which was a variation of the...
It was the G1, right?
G1, yes. Just had different naming. And what a mess that was up there. Tom, what were you using 3 years ago?
do I have to say? Or am I going to get like...
Was it one of those Star Trek phones, you know, with the huge antenna?
Oh, if only it was a StarTAC, if only. No, 3 years ago I was using the iPhone 3GS.
Oh my God. Unbelievable.
That's so terrible, Tom. Oh my God!
Yeah, but in my defense, look, in my defense, back in 3 years ago, the Android market was not appealing in the UK. It was either the Hero or the G1, and they were both crap. So, what was I to do?
All right, Tom.
But in my defense as well, I also forked out a lump of cash to get an early upgrade. 5 months early upgrade. I paid a lump of cash to get my HTC Desire just so I could get it. So I sort of made amends by paying with cash.
Okay. All right. Thanks a lot, Tom. So there we go. 3-year contracts in Canada need to come to an end. Hopefully some good news will come out of that. Now I wanted to go back to Alex here as he covered a story that just kind of popped out yesterday where Google, Dell, Facebook, Red Hat, as well, HomeAway, Rackspace, Zynga, what is it, Intuit or something like that, and all these guys, they are getting together to fight against vaguely worded patents. Now, we at Android and Google and Android lovers know nothing about these vaguely worded patents. Or patent wars, as we've never heard anything about that stuff, but I hear it could affect us in the future. What's the scoop on it, Alex? What's the story? It's still a little early in the talks on this stuff, but what's the idea? What's going on?
Basically, a group of these big tech companies, including all the ones that you named, they're coming together. They filed an amicus brief with the U.S. Court of Appeals about all these vaguely worded U.S. patents, like the one that Apple has about a rectangle with rounded corners.
Yes.
I don't know how that's a patent.
So what do they plan to do? What do they plan to do with this amicus or Ichabus? Whatever. What did you call it? Oh, sorry, I didn't hear that.
I'm not sure how to pronounce it, but it's,
okay.
I think it's amicus.
All right. And what do they plan to do with it?
To get these patents so they don't have to be upheld in court and not be granted in the first place for the future. That's pretty much all we've got at this point.
It would definitely be good to see that some of these technology companies start banding together against these frivolous patents as they affect the entire patent industry, just not Android. It's it's running rampant because technology is obviously the future and and it's innovation, and this is only going to slow it down. We've covered this in extensive detail through Apple and Samsung and all that stuff, and we don't even want to get into that, but it's really nice to see that there's going to be hopefully some of these bigger companies pushing it, using some of their resources in lobbying and government, that we maybe can get some patent reform out there and change some of it so these frivolous lawsuits don't hurt the consumer, because at the end of the day, that's who it really ends up hurting. So hopefully we can start to see some changes in that. So we won't bore people on the patent situation, because until really there's some major changes out there, there's just an endless amount of lawsuits. Let's move on to our next story as well. We got Alex right back at you, Alex, with the new HTC M7 that's getting rumored and possibly a CES or Mobile World Conference debut. What is this new device from HTC? What's it got underneath the hood? What is the deal?
Well, the HTC M7 was rumored late last week. I think it was like Thursday or Friday. Basically, the specs that they've come up with is pretty much everything you'd expect in a phone coming out this part of the year. 5-inch, 1080p, Snapdragon S4 Pro quad-core processor, 13-megapixel camera. But these are all rumored specs, so they might not be real.
So is what the general feeling is? Do you guys think that this could be the new HTC Series 2 replacing the 1 series, the new device for the new year, the new benchmarking device? What do you think, Alex? You think this is what we're going to be seeing here?
I think it'll be like the international, like the upgrade to the international 1X Plus, and it'll probably come out AT&T. Hopefully they'll put it on more than just AT&T here in the US.
Now, a lot of the specs kind of similar to what we've seen already in the HTC Droid DNA. So, I mean, could it be potentially this is just a global launch of the Droid DNA as their, flagship device?
It could, because they talked about the Butterfly launching internationally earlier this week.
So these two rumors could intertwine, and it could be a Butterfly, aka Droid Deluxe DNA. As
the
flagship.
M7 could be just the code name for it.
Now that's I think that's great, but I would think that we're probably going to see something maybe a little more flashier, something a little more beefed up specs for this type of phone. Possibly our next rumor that we wanted to talk about as well is that could it be the HTC is going to put a Tegra 4 Cortex A15 and 4+1 in there?
That's what I was expecting. I wasn't expecting.
That's what it probably would be if they really want to make it a new device. Otherwise, it's just a.
Because right now everything out there has the Snapdragon S4 Pro in there, along with 2 gigs of RAM. So in order to make it stand out, they need something like Tegra 4.
Yeah, because if they do not upgrade this thing, this is just like their. Like things they've done in the past, rebadging phones, calling them brand new, and re-releasing them, which I totally expect HTC to do with the Butterfly because it's only on the Verizon network, and I'm sure it'll be rebadged, repackaged, and claimed as the new and the greatest thing out there. But they're gonna definitely, if we don't see it in this device, we're gonna see the new Tegra 4 in there. What are some of the specs on that Tegra 4?
It's basically going to be a Tegra 3 with Cortex A15, and there's word, it's going to carry over the 4+1 architecture with a with a slower 5th companion core that does all of your low-level web browsing and sort of general phone OS sort of thing, so that you don't end up powering up the other 4 cores or 2 of the cores to do something else, just like the Tegra 3 does.
Is this a HTC's way of extending battery life as well too? Something they haven't really addressed?
I think it might well be, because I think this time around HTC can play 2 games, because when they announced the 1X, way back in the beginning of this year at MWC, it was, I think they went with the Tegra 3 because the Tegra 3 sort of screamed, you know, multimedia and video and games and all that kind of stuff. But you know, it sort of got eclipsed fast by the S4. Whereas this time around, the Tegra 4 is going to be everything that the Tegra 3 was, with an actual battery advantage. Because the Tegra 3, you know, I've been using the Tegra 3 for months, and I can tell you that 5th core does nothing to save my battery life. Like, it's terrible. But I mean, you know, 4+1.
I didn't know there was a 5th core in the Tegra 3.
Yeah, there's a 5th core in the Tegra 3.
Wow, someone forgot to notify Tegra that they should have activated it.
I don't understand what. Well, I think like you say, this is the thing that HTC are going to try and do. Like, if you had Tegra 4 using the 4+1 die layout on an architecture that was actually power efficient, you could probably stretch the battery life out effectively. Whereas the Tegra 3 was just all noise and no actual, you know, it was just all noise.
All noise.
Yeah,
now,
that's all I've got to say.
Now that Cortex A15 is what it's based off of, the Cortex A15 architecture. That is a monster chip. This is something that we've kind of been waiting to come to Android and smartphones for a while. The processing power that you're going to see in the new chips coming out next year, these will mostly be in the higher end phones. These are really going to speed up your phone a considerably amount that you're going to actually notice it. The phones, you know, are pretty great right now, but the Cortex A15 architecture is probably the best that we're going to see in a long time. And after that, you're going to start seeing innovation going in a different way. I know, Doug, you had covered an article for us last week in there. The Cortex A15 is probably going to be the mother of the chips. And after that, what kind of stuff are we going to start to see phones, you know, kind of going? Because the processing power is kind of starting to get limited a little bit after the A15.
Well, I mean, I would think that, and you know, one of the parallels I tried to draw in that article was between, you know, kind of what's happened with the laptop industry and what happened with the cell phone industry. Like, when I was in high school, I was always reading about the laptops that were coming out next because there were all these cool and exciting features. And now laptops have kind of leveled off, and now we're focused more on mobile technology. And what I think we're going to see a lot of is obviously battery life being huge. Now, the A15, the 5th core, is all about that. The problem with batteries now is that, like, the laws of physics won't let us make a battery much thinner and hold much more power than what we're doing now. The technology is not fantastic. The batteries swell and shrink depending on the temperature. They're very sensitive to temperature extremes, either cold or hot. You have to take care of your battery. You got to empty it regularly, make sure you charge it all the way back up. It's not a great technology, so we're kind of waiting for the next thing. But battery life, certainly portability and thinness are always going to be big. You know, are we going to be seeing a no bezel phone from maybe Motorola? Are we going to see a flexible screen from Samsung? You know, I mean, obviously, my guess is
as well too.
Yes, for sure. Especially as we're looking to, you know, actually stream video from your phone to your TV instead of just connecting your phone to your TV, but actually streaming like your entertainment video, not just your personal videos, which I think some people do now. I can do it through my Roku.
They have these beautiful 1080p screens, but the GPU can't throw out.
Right.
You know, or even maybe so much the CPU as well can't throw out any of that 1080p content back to the phones because they don't have that processing power yet. Right. So I think the Cortex A15 architecture will allow that CPU-wise. GPU will probably be the next thing to throw up. They're going to roll in some RAM. But I think going back to the point that you had made is we're going to see that the next trend of innovation is going to need to come from the battery life of these phones. You know, we've skyrocketed. We've got these things going faster than your laptops and some people's home computers, but the things that, you know, just can't last. So that is where the next technology, and you know, realistically, you know, we hear so much about, Android hardware, RAM, and displays and everything like that. And I can tell you at home, we are not sitting on any technology in regards or rumors or anything about battery life. It's like battery is the ugly, stepchild hidden in the corner that no one likes to talk about in the mobile industry, because the innovation, the technology, it's, I can't say stagnated, but it definitely has not progressed at the level of the rest of the smartphone. And that's going to be something that we really like to focus and push in the next year, is battery life. In all fairness, though, Motorola and their Droid Max is probably have one of the best batteries going out there. Now, I don't know, exactly how that they are able to do that. No other company is. Some of them are catching up, but they're definitely at the forefront in battery technology and, long lasting. So hopefully we see that these other carriers and manufacturers realize that this is an area that they need to improve on, and we start to see that. I would love to see, something with solar, more wireless, ways to charge, because the problem is the batteries are just not lasting long enough. My wife, I got her what they call a Mophie, and a Mophie is something, you slide your phone into, and it can extend your battery, up to 8 to 12 hours with them. But the thing is massive. It's massive. Then when it throws a lot of weight on there, and it looks like she bought a smartphone. Yeah, you got what do you got there?
Giant extended battery on my Galaxy Nexus.
And it's like
it looks like it's about to give birth.
Exactly. It's like you're giving birth to a Nexus 4. And that's the problem, is like they have these beautiful thin smartphones and everything like that, but you can only talk on it or carry it around for 4 hours. So really that technology, it's got to change, because people are becoming so dependent and reliant on their smartphones and using them so much more, and the batteries are just not there. Great, beautiful smartphone, but if it's dead, how useful is it?
Yep.
All right, enough of that on that rant. Christina, actually, let's go to you. How is your smartphone battery life? How much battery life are you getting out of your phone these days?
Usually from the time I leave the house, which is probably about 8:30, it usually lasts until about 5.
Till about 5?
And most of the day I'm on Wi-Fi though, so.
That definitely does help for sure. Alex, you're a power user. What kind of hours are you getting out of your Nexus 4?
Usually around 8 to 10. And that's like all on HSPA Plus, unless I open up Ingress. Then it's like 2 or 3.
10 p.m. at night?
Yeah.
No, but just like 8 to 10 hours, depending on what time I unplug it.
8 to 10 hours. All right. And and the thing is, 8 to 10 hours, that's great while you're at work. But most of us work at least 8 hours, and an extra 2 in commute. So by the time you leave your house, you're really, you're scared to make a phone call by the time you leave work, because you don't know if that thing's going to give out any minute.
That would be me.
Yes. Now, of course, that doesn't happen to Doug, because Doug's giving birth to a Nexus 4 on the back there. What kind of battery life are you getting with your extended ugly duckling battery extender?
I've had this for, it's very self-conscious, it hears you. I've had this for about 3 weeks, and it's the 3200 milliamp. I can get about 6 to 7 hours of playing Ingress out of it, which is pretty impressive, because
wow,
you've got your Wi-Fi card on and your GPS both running like crazy. I can get through a full day. Like if I wake up in the morning, I don't plug it in at work, I don't plug it in the car. Right about when I get home and I'm about to go to sleep, that's about when it's going to run out. Say I spend 2 hours talking on it in there.
No, that's
Wi-Fi card on most of the time.
So that's what realistically what a phone should do. You should be able to leave in the morning, use your phone throughout the day like you would, whether it be heavy or light, come home at the end of the day, do your thing at home, and plug it in before you go to bed. In a real world, realistically, that's what they need to. So with their current technology, they probably need to be able to do that, get it up to, about 4,000, 4,500 milliamps in order to do it with their current technology, maybe 5K?
Well, the processors are going to be getting more efficient, so in theory, smaller batteries should be going farther, but
that's not happening.
Things can only get so
we're
efficient.
Doing more things with it as well, too.
Right.
That's the thing. Well, our usage before it was email, an odd game and stuff like that. Now it's, we're getting tracked by Big Brother. Our doctors, know where we are. Our parents, our children, everyone's, on our GPS. We got browser apps running in the background, watching everything we say, do, and talk about. So those are all draining on the batteries. But hopefully in the new year, we'll start to see some more focus, definitely, on the battery life. And, so we don't end up carrying power bags around with us. Alex just got a power bag. Alex bought a power bag. Alex, for those of us at home, I've never used a power bag. I know what the hell they are, but I've never had to use a power bag. For those people at home that are really in desperate need of some additional battery life, please explain to them what a power bag is.
It's basically a backpack with a big battery in there. Mine
so
is
essentially, it's
million.
a man's purse.
Have you used it yet, Alex?
No, I'm going to use it when I play Ingress.
I know, that's what I was going to
That's what I got
use it for.
You're like a Ghostbuster, like with your phone and a cable coming out from the back.
And photon and everything like that.
Yeah.
Well, there we go. So you'll have to give us some specs next week on how that phone bag works for you, Alex.
It's supposed to be able to recharge a typical smartphone twice. So
Twice.
How long does it take to recharge?
I just tried it earlier. It went from 54% to 90% in like 35 to 45 minutes. So it's about as fast as plugging it in the wall.
Doug's just smiling beautifully about that. Look at him. He's pretty happy about that. Doug doesn't even move an inch. He's so happy. See him smiling? I think Doug froze up on us there. He potentially could be on T-Mobile. That could be an issue. That's why he's frozen up. Anyways, let's get on to our next story. I'm going to go to Tom on this. Samsung, their last week had announced, or not necessarily they announced, but the Samsung new processor power for the Galaxy S4. What's the rumor on that?
The Exynos 5440 is it's basically Samsung's Cortex A15 processor that we all know they were going to do, and now we know how many fives and noughts and whatever else has got on the end of it. But we knew it was coming because
they've been talking about it for 2 years.
Well, there is that, and recently. I was talking recent terms, Chris.
Okay,
I know you like to look at the big picture. But, it was outed by a head engineer. I forget his name because it's a Korean name. So, but they outed it on the kernel, the Linux kernel filings. They basically came out and said this allows it to work. This bug releases for the Exynos 5440 running on the Cortex A15. And the 5440 is going to be able to push some crazy some crazy resolutions, and the 5250, the dual core version of it, already runs the Nexus 10 and a crazy 2560 by 1600 display.
Yeah, this is going to be a great processor that is going to be in the S4. It is going to blow away other phones. This Samsung, Cortex A15 Exynos 5440 quad core is something I've been reading about for over a couple of years, and I'm glad to see it. This thing is going to be the mother. You are not going to need another smartphone after this for at least 6 months.
I thought you were going to say 3 years and make
I know.
Rogers and Taylor.
In Canada, you won't need one for 3 years. But in the real world, you're going to definitely need one in 6 months. No, this phone is going to be a monster with this quad core in there, and it's going to blow up, and it is going to handle any games you can throw at it, anything you can process. You're going to be laughing. Now, with as well, the S4 is supposed to come with a 4.99 1080p Full HD display, 13 megapixel camera. We're still in the early stage of talking about the rumors, but this thing is supposed to be a monster.
I think it's gonna.
Go ahead, Tom. Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt.
No. All I was gonna say is, I think it's gonna be difficult for anyone else to catch up to Samsung for a while. I mean, especially if they were gonna put the 5440 inside the next Galaxy S. Like, I mean, people are gonna struggle to catch up to that for a long time.
You know, Qualcomm is going to have their work cut out for them this year,
yeah.
making some type of processor that's going to keep up with this bad boy. So it'll be interesting to see. Now,
I think they're going to struggle as well because the Adreno chips the Adreno GPUs they throw in the Snapdragons aren't that good.
So the as well, also the S4 is going to have that flexible display. And that flexible display was something you had reported on last week there, Tom. And what's the deal with that?
Apparently, Samsung have been working on their flexible Super AMOLED display technology for a long time now, and apparently it could well be making its appearance in the Galaxy S4, which would then lead the S4 to come with an unbreakable display.
Now that would be amazing. So, if you sit on your phone or drop it, is it going to be, I personally, let's get your guys' opinion. Flexible display, I've always been kind of like, what the hell do I really need a flexible display for?
All I want to say...
What am I going to do?
All I want to say is that if they come out with something and call it an unbreakable phone, that's just going to be seen as a challenge. And I can't wait to see the YouTube videos of people just ripping apart brand new phones.
And Microsoft and Apple and everything. Our phones are breakable, unlike...
Oh, no, it's not unbreakable. We shot it with a rifle, and it's it's not even Good times.
I think they just need to, call it tough glass or something, whatever the fuck, right? But when you start saying stuff is unbreakable, you are opening yourself to a world of criticism.
You can just rent industrial tools. You can just go rent that stuff. They
I'm
don't
going
even
to
ask
Home
for an
Depot,
ID.
buy me a jackhammer, and see how unbreakable it is. You can definitely see the redneck YouTube videos coming out in full force when they drop that out.
Yeah. Some really awesome drop tests.
It's going to be nice, this flexible display. And in our story on our site, we have a guy who's kind of like, looks like he's bending a phone. Now, the problem I got with that is all the chips and processors inside. Do you really want to be bending a cell phone, with the battery and everything? So the screen would be flexible, but the rest of the parts aren't. So what can you really do with a flexible display? That means I could curve the screen or something, but do I really want a curved, weird screen?
Well, this is what I was thinking when when I was going over it. Like, I can see the advantage of being able to make a flexible display, because say you have, like, imagine a Galaxy S3 with just as it is now, but the display underneath the glass is flexible. So you go ahead and you break the glass. You just go and replace the glass. But if you break the LCD in the Galaxy S3, that's a massive repair bill. So I can see the advantages, but I don't understand why you would
repair-wise, but design-wise.
Yeah, exactly. I mean,
I'm
but
having
you could
a hard time visioning it. I'm not the visionary like Samsung, so I'm trying to see what are they going to do. How are they going to make the rest of the phone flexible? I mean, the whole point of it could possibly be that maybe if they want to do some curves in it, like how the S3 does have a curve, instead of flattening it out, they could make a curve, but kind of seems like it could be limiting in a way. Where do they want, because it's flexible, could they wrap the entire screen around the device? Does that have potential to do that? I don't know. I'm trying to figure out how this stuff is going to be usable, because flexible display is their buzzword, and I'm just trying to understand how real-world applications could be used. You have any ideas, Doug, on how we'd use flexible?
Well, I mean, obviously the battery is going to be flexible, like you're saying. The processor is going to be flexible. Sometimes it's easy to forget that sometimes new technologies are just a terrible idea. It happens all the time, and we're like HD DVD. Like, yeah, sure, that sounds good, higher resolution. Turns out it was a horrible idea. Let's see, what's another good example? Dreamcast, horrible idea. Sounded like a good idea, wasn't a good idea.
You leave the Dreamcast alone.
I mean, it's essentially a cliche at this point. I feel bad for even using Dreamcast because it's low-hanging fruit. But anyway, it might just be a bad idea. That's my idea.
Maybe they can make, everyone loves the flip phones from the days past.
Yes.
Maybe with a flexible display, right? You can have a full screen possibly in there, longer screens, open it up into a wide 16 by 9 style screen. I don't know. I'm just throwing it out there. I'm trying to help Samsung along because in some of the stories we have this picture of this like curved glass phone, and it's like no one on the fucking planet would use that fucking thing. It's an ugly piece of shit that looks like a fish hook with a phone display on it. But,
yeah. Samsung came out with some crazy concept. I don't know whether it was this CES, 2012, or the year before, but they came out with some crazy ideas where they basically just got like some flexible AMOLED displays and put them in all sorts of weird shapes and shit. And I don't know why they do it.
Because it doesn't look practical at the end of the day, on how they could use it. But you know what? We'll leave the innovating up to them. Christina, Alex, any ideas on how they might use some of this flexible display? Alex?
I think it's just like a marketing ploy to get people to buy it.
Yeah,
I agree with you,
really
Alex.
Need a flexible display. It's something I've always wanted. And
like we said, the rest of it's not going to be flexible.
Yeah.
I mean, maybe if you're a really clumsy person that you're always like dropping your phone or something.
The benefit is possibly that, dropping the phone, the flexible display, maybe it won't be as breakable, or if you sit down or something gets pushed against the screen, possibly, and maybe a little bit of, the device design, but it can't really vary too far off of what we're doing. Unfortunately, we have, rectangular phones are with us for a while, and, let's see, maybe they're going to revolutionize the world. They're rebanding their image at Samsung next year, so maybe they have some Star Trek shit coming out that we don't know about. So, could be fun. Could be fun. As well, why not? Why not innovate, throw something new at us? It'll give us something else to complain or talk or have fun with. Why not? All right, guys, so enough about the flexible display and the Galaxy S4. Early rumors. We don't know how it'll be used. We'll definitely be talking about it more in depth as we get closer. And as well, last week we had the Google I/O 2013 dates were announced. For those of you that were under a rock and hiding, it's May 15th through the 17th in San Francisco at the same place, same time. Who cares? No. We love Google I/O. It's great, but I'm just saying the location really hasn't changed. Just giving you an update on the dates. It's going to be at what is it called there? The Moscone Center West, where it's been held for the past 3-4 years, and we'll be seeing all kinds of beautiful and great new products from there. And as we get closer, we'll talk about it. Tickets are rumored to probably come out, maybe about February? Anybody got any speculation on that? Alex shaking his head like he knows for sure. February?
Yeah, they said the information will be out in February.
Okay, so we'll be
it'll sell
looking
out
for
in
you.
like 10 minutes.
For those no, it'll probably be sold out in like 30 seconds, and the servers will crash. And oh no, that was an Nexus 4.
As long as they sell it through the Play Store.
Yeah, as long as they don't sell them in the Play Store.
We'll be fine.
Okay, great. All right, guys, and for those of you who are Ingress fans, last week Alex and Doug did our very first Ingress Android Headlines show, or Android Headlines Ingress Edition show, very first episode, and it went over very well and responded really great with the fans and the viewers at home and the players, and even the guys, the brass at Ingress were very impressed with it. And why don't you guys go over a little bit about the show so people that didn't watch it can go back and watch it or can tune in for next week? Alex, what did you guys have to do? What did you say? What happened on the show?
Well, we talked about some tips and strategies for new players and people that are already playing. We also talked about some rumors that we heard that there might be a third faction coming.
Oh,
but none of us believe it.
None of you believe it.
No, that's a lie. Don't worry about it. It's a horrible idea. Surely they wouldn't do that.
I would hope not.
You never know. It might be something down the road. Now that you guys, the rumor kind of got out there and everyone's, I hate it. It's a good idea now. The developers are probably programming it into the game as you speak.
Shh,
and
stop talking about it then.
Exactly.
The third faction is just going to be when it hits the iPhone. You realise that, don't you?
Just the iPhone versus Android?
It'll be
amazing.
Just imagine, that would be hilarious. Like,
that's what I've been hearing. Is it's going to be like the resistance is going to be iOS and Lightning is going to be Android.
What do...
That
would switch sides.
Violent. That could just get violent. Mob riots, actual gunshots, and killing of people. Not that we condone this, but that could actually happen. There's some passionate Apple fans, sheep out there, and Android fans. Oh, watch it. Those droids, they'll kill their asses. I can see mayhem in the streets now. You thought this was just a fucking game before? Watch it if you hit fucking Android versus Apple. This shit's gonna get fucking real fast.
Oh God, that would be great.
Yeah, don't try and hack the port.
I have a question to either Alex or Doug.
9mm. Somebody defending it. You're not hacking my portal, bitch. Anyways, I'm just joking and having fun with it, guys. But that's a great rumor. When is everyone gonna get to play it? Let's go to Doug on this. Doug, what have you heard?
We discussed this briefly. There are, once again, rumors, and this is all I can say is that they're rumors that something might happen December 21st. Of course, there were also rumors that something would happen December 1st.
Well,
absolutely jack squat happened. Who knows?
A Christmas present would be nice, for all the people out there begging for invites, willing to sell their children unborn and
I have a ton of kids
homes and
kicking
stuff
around here because I traded them for invite codes. There's like 50 kids here. You don't even know.
Oh my God.
I'm going to flip them for a profit. It's fine. It's totally legal.
Awesome.
Right on. For a profit.
I traded my Ingress invite for a 50-inch TV. They're doing it on eBay. Selling Ingress invites. That's how I'm paying for our Christmas this year. We're selling Ingress invites, and that's how everyone in my family is getting a Christmas present. So what kind of tips and tricks maybe do you have that you guys have covered lately for some of the guys at home? Something new, something fresh for them. You got something?
I have something. I have a question for them.
A question?
I don't have any.
If I could ever get in there.
No question. No question.
Come on, I play, but I mean, our area, I'm noticing Enlightened is popping up more and more in my area, so
that tends to happen.
You gotta take
definitely have to do something about that. But what do the unclaimed portals look like? Because I'm starting to see.
Gray.
They're gray, and they're very
popping up
difficult to
all
find.
over the place, and now I want to go for a ride.
I tell you what, though, the unclaimed portals did not get you a lot of experience. The best thing you can do if you want to level up quickly is to hit the portals that the Enlightenment control. One of the things that I learned a ton from the Hangout on Friday, even though I've been playing this as long as anybody, I learned a ton. Where you're standing when you set off an XMP is vital. And however close you are to the actual portal doesn't necessarily matter. What matters is how close you are to the resonators that you're attacking. I was going up against a level 5 resonator, and I couldn't kill this thing because the actual resonator was inside the building that was closed. Because I like to lurk around and play Ingress at like 3 in the morning because there's no traffic.
Oh, nice. Have you ever been like stalked by a cop yet?
No, I haven't. I also haven't been raped yet, which is nice. Always good to go a few weeks without getting raped.
That's a good thing, Doug.
Yes. And some of the areas that I play in are a little rapey. I will admit it. A little rapey. No neighborhood is perfect. But it's not so bad. But it took me forever to take out this portal because I was so far away because I couldn't get into the building. When I went to the speaking of buildings that are closed, when I was at the Chicago Resistance meetup a few weeks ago, there were 2 guys that conned their way into one of the museums so that they could take a portal that was in there because it was unclaimed because nobody's going to pay $12 to go. So
someone's going to get arrested playing this game.
I know.
Really confident and walked on past the guard. I won't say which museum.
I'm looking at my map right now, and there's like downtown from my college. There's like 20 enlightened portals that have just come out of nowhere.
That's awesome.
What are you doing on the show? You better go get those.
Yeah.
I just looked it up now. I mean, I'm always trying to check to see what's new and popping up. So.
You know where Christine will be as soon as this podcast ends.
There's some in Cecil. That's like 5 minutes from my house.
Alex, what's your tip of the week? What do you throw something out there for the people at home? I'm on the spot.
High-level portals, like the ones that are 5 and 6. Those ones will give you more stuff, which I learned that on the Hangout too, and I did that today. There's one down the street from my house that's like level 4 or 5.
Is this the one that Alex said? I was chatting to him and he says, "Oh, hang on, I'll be right back. I'm just going to run down the street to hack a portal."
Yeah.
Just a minute. In between writing stories for the site, just a second. I got to run down here and fix the portal here.
Hey, I do it.
It's the only one within like a mile of my house. Everything else is downtown. Which I have to go down there because there's like 8 or 9.
Dude, they're invading your fucking neighborhood. Get on top of that shit.
They're everywhere.
That's right. Okay, for you guys that don't know, we we got Ingress invites in a contest. You can catch on our site. Go in there, fill out the entry forms to get your chance to enter the Ingress giveaway, where we're giving away some codes. Alex is posting up passcodes every day. For those of you who don't know what those are at home, passcodes are, Alex, what are they again?
They're codes for once you're in the game. You can get different items from them: AP, XM, resonators, shields,
and he's on top. And he's on top of those every day.
You have to be quick with those because they expire within minutes.
Wow.
Yeah.
It's faster.
Make sure to go to our site and visit it often. Hit the refresh button and the ads on the site. That helps too.
There's a lot of people too asking, like, for those of us, I know I get a lot of people asking me to tell me to invite, and I mean, we have the option to invite, but we can't actually invite people to play the game.
It shows me no invites left.
Be given away. So if you send us 50 messages to invite, sorry, there's not much we can do. We're only given limited amounts to give away at this point. So just know that you got to enter the draw and jump through the hoops as Alex makes you do, and to get to get in the contest. We just want to make it fair for everybody. So that's why we have, do a little bit of this, a little bit of that for more entries and so on. And we run it for a couple of days. So, if you were busy at work and you didn't have time to, respond to a comment or something like that, don't worry. Contests, they don't end for a few days. So, All right, and these guys as well are going to be talking about doing another Ingress show, not this week, the week after, and they'll have some great news for you and get you all up to date. Plus, as well, they're also covering, the daily actions and as well, some of the groups and the tips and tricks that are going on. And for all your Ingress needs, we are the only site banging out the stuff on Ingress, so make sure you tune in. And that's it this week for our Android Headline Show. Anybody want to throw anything else in for now or forever hold your peace? All right. Thank you, Alex. Thank you, Christina. Thank you, Doug. And thank you, Rainy Tom. It's been a pleasure. And for the meantime and in between time, that's it for the Android Headline Show. And thank you for tuning in. We'll see you guys next week.